In today's video, I'm going to be making a Southern style po' boy sandwich. Stick around. Okay guys, welcome back to Cambo Kitchen, and today we're going to make a po' boy sandwich. And you guys might have seen these before or even had them in the south of the United States. It's a soft, crusty white bread that's griddled with a lot of butter, and you put some remoulade sauce on there, and you top it with some fried fish, some shaved lettuce, some tomatoes, some pickles, and then you call it a day. It is so incredibly good, and definitely you guys are going to want to watch this video. Now with the po' boy sandwich, you definitely have to do a couple things right. You want to make sure your bread is crusty. You want to make sure it has different layers of flavor, right? So you don't want a really crunchy bread. You want a bread with a hard crust, soft center, and then you're going to just slather butter all over the soft center of the bread. Once you cut it in half, you're going to griddle it, and that's going to provide a couple different layers of texture, right? So you have that crusty, griddled, buttery bread right there, then you have the soft bread, and then you have the crust, right? So that's crucial. Another crucial thing is to make sure that you fry your seafood really well. Now you add cornmeal. That's kind of the southern way to do it, along with other spices and things. I mean, everybody has their own proprietary flour mixture, right? And I'll show you one today that turned out really well. And the other thing is to make sure that your remoulade is delicious, right? A lot of people use just mayonnaise. I think that's a little weak. I mean, I know it's traditional, but I think you can do a little better than just plain old mayonnaise. So with all those ingredients, you can imagine how delicious it is. You're not gonna wanna miss this. Okay, let's start by prepping some vegetables. We're gonna start with lettuce. So I use iceberg lettuce. You can use pretty much any lettuce that you want. I think iceberg has that kind of watery, like crisp texture that you're looking for in this sandwich. And I slice it paper thin. Now let's slice up some tomatoes. And as David Chang says, the Roma tomato is the best tomato for sandwiches. It just has like that sour component, and it has a little bit of that acidity and that crunch that you want. You don't really want like an in-season tomato. You kind of want that sour Roma tomato. And what I do with the tomato is I just slice it thin. I don't want thick chunks. I hate thick chunks of those tomatoes. So I slice it about 1/4 inch. Now we're going to slice up some pickles, and I use sour dill pickles. These are fully sour lacto-fermented dill pickles. You can use sweeter pickles if you want. Some people like kind of the bread and butter pickles, which are a little bit sweeter. I like the sour dills, and I like that salty sourness. Now simply for the seafood, what we're going to do is get ourselves some egg whites. So we're going to crack 2 eggs. We're going to put the egg whites in a bowl, and we're going to mix our seafood with the egg whites, and then we're going to coat them in the breading mixture, right? So this egg white just provides a nice layer that adheres to that breadcrumb kind of cornmeal mixture, and it gets really crispy. So we just add our seafood right into those egg whites, and we're just going to give it a nice toss, right? So we want all our seafood to be nicely coated with those egg whites. Now for the breading today, I'm going to use 1/2 cup of polenta, aka cornmeal, 1/2 cup of coarse ground flour, and 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour. I'm going to add a tablespoon of Cajun seasoning, aka blackening spice. I'll leave a recipe down below in the description. I'm adding a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. I add a tablespoon of onion powder, a tablespoon of garlic powder, a tablespoon of paprika, a few cracks of black pepper, and about a teaspoon of salt. That onion powder and garlic powder have a lot of salt in them, and also the seafood's already salty, so you don't really need to season too heavily. So the easiest way to mix this together is with a whisk. So just use a whisk, give it a nice little toss, nice little stir, and you're good to go. Now let's mix up our remoulade sauce. Remoulade is just a fancy word for souped up mayonnaise. So I'm using mayonnaise. I like to use kewpie mayonnaise. It has a little MSG in it. I like to add a tablespoon of blackening seasoning. I use about a tablespoon of Crusty hot sauce. You can use any kind of hot sauce you'd like. And then I add some fresh herbs. So I use some parsley. Basil works really well too. And I do about 1/2 squeeze of lemon. And I just mix that together. And I think that really complements that fried seafood much better than a plain old regular mayonnaise. You can also add capers and shallots and cool stuff like that. I just kept it pretty simple. Now let's coat our seafood. So I take the seafood out of the egg whites into that bowl of the breading mixture, and I just toss it really well. I make sure I pick up the seafood and just pack all the nooks and crannies with that breading to ensure that it's evenly coated, and then I put it on a wire rack and it's good to go. Okay, for the bread, my choices were pretty limited, so I actually went with this ciabatta loaf. So this ciabatta loaf was nice because it's really soft in the center, so I could griddle that up really easily, and then just kind of have that layer of flavor, like that crunchy inside texture, and then that soft, like gooey, like exterior, so to speak. So coat it really well with butter. I added about a tablespoon of butter to each half. This recipe is not healthy. You will not get skinny eating these po' boys, but they are such a treat. It's worth it. Griddle it over medium-low heat for 3 to 5 minutes, low and slow, until it gets nice and colored and crusty just like that. That's perfect. Now, let's fry up our seafood. I'm just using a cast iron pan. I heat it up to about 350. I add my seafood pieces, a nice even layer. I don't want to overcrowd the pan. Make sure your heat is nice and medium. And it's just going to fry up beautifully. This crust worked really well. As you can see, it's just super crusty. Those oysters were really nice. The shrimp were so large that I had to actually cook them on the top side where they were deveined to make sure they're cooked all the way through. As for the size of the shrimp, I'm using U15s. These were huge. You could use much smaller. You could use like U20s, U25s, U30s. And the oysters, you can cut them in half. You could also cut the shrimp in half. But I like the size of these. I thought they worked out really well. Now let's build this beautiful sandwich. So cover your toasted bread with that mayonnaise. You want a lot of mayonnaise. That mayonnaise goes really well with the fried fish, and it also works really well with the bread. Don't skimp on the mayonnaise. It adds a lot of succulence. Now cover the bottom side with your shredded lettuce. That bright, fresh, crisp lettuce. Add a lot of that right to the bottom. We're going to add our pickles. Add as many or as little as you want. I like a single layer of those pickles, not too much, but at least a good coating. And I also like not too much tomato. I actually don't even like tomatoes that much, but a little bit is really nice. So I just added some thin sliced tomatoes to the bottom, and I added my seafood. So just pile your seafood on. I know a lot of po' boys have really, really small shrimp and small oysters. Not this one. This one's luxurious. This one's big, beautiful, lump, juicy pieces of fried seafood. And that's what I like. I thought this one tasted so good. Put your sandwich together, squish it down a little bit, and then give it a nice cut in half so you can actually eat it. And as you can see, everything turned out really, really good. This was awesome. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. You saw how delicious that po' boy sandwich was. It is killer. I mean, if you like sandwiches, you like fried fish, fried seafood, I mean, it's a no-brainer. It is a really good sandwich. It's not very popular. You don't see it all over the country or all over the world, right? I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, maybe hit the bell, maybe not. You can think about that. And stay tuned for more videos coming soon in the near future. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.